This is the second video in the third lesson of the content module of the first semester. And like I said in the introductory video, I will be speaking about a Christian vision about innovation. That's how I can call it. For you will hear me developing a kind of vision on innovation from a Christian perspective. And I will begin with a distinction that is often made currently between why, what and how. So that's the first thing we will do. And after that I will speak about drivers of innovation. What are proper drivers of innovation? Very important when you are choosing innovation in your situation. And I will also explain what, in my opinion, is innovation and what it is not. So, and at the end I will give a kind of a definition of innovation from a Christian perspective. Let's start with a model in which a distinction is made between the why, the how and the what. And it is from a guy named Simon Sinek. And when you look for him at Google, you will find a lot of hits for Simon Sinek. And also when you type in why, how, what, you will find it immediately. So it is a kind of a hype, but it gives insight in very important aspects of innovation. That's the reason that I am explaining and using this model for our topic of innovation in Christian education. And the model explains that the search for impact, like impact in business, the impact of education can be taken from three perspectives. You can take the perspective of the why, the perspective of the how, and the perspective of the what. And when you think about the why, you have to think about meaning. So when you are going to innovate, you have to think about what is the meaning behind it. Why am I doing this? What is the ultimate purpose for it? And when you speak about the what, then you are speaking about the actual topic you are choosing. And I will give a few examples in a moment. And when you are speaking about the how, then you are speaking about the way you are implementing a renewal or an innovation. So what is important in this model, and you see it in these three columns in this slide, is that the profit of the why is that you think great. Like there's often an example given, which is the example of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King had a dream, and he said, I have a dream. And that was a big dream because it was about the segregation between black and white people in America, you know that. And his dream was that there would be more equality between the races. And his dream was great. But the idea is that when you want to, when you are heading for a great dream, you have to do little things, small things. And that's also applicable to education. So if you have a great vision, and I think you have to have a great vision, a very broad vision, that gives meaning behind the things you are going to implement. When you are choosing small things, you are heading for changing to the future, to the ideal future. So that's important to get in mind when you are thinking about the innovation in your school or your institution. You have to think great, but to act small. And that means that you have to give words on the why, but you have also give words on the what, so what you are choosing. But the two things are connected. When you are choosing a specific topic, and I will mention further on examples, when you have chosen a certain topic, you always can go back to the why. Why am I choosing this particular topic? But before I will come back to that, I will speak some words about innovation. The word innovation. We have mentioned this already a lot of times, and that's because the idea of this course is that in your Christian education setting, you will become a teacher leader. And a teacher leader is someone who will innovate the practice in his institution. So what is innovation? And to answer that question, I can say, what is innovation not? An idea that very often is seen is that innovation is about implementing technology in education. And technology is a very important driver currently, and I will speak about it further on in this video. But innovation does not mean, or does not just mean, that you are implementing technology in education, like bringing more smartboards in your class, or use the smartphones by the children, or giving everyone a laptop. So this might be an innovation or innovations, but these are not what defines innovation. And the other thing is that innovation is not a value in itself. So we are not innovating education because innovative education has a value in itself, and that we would say education has only a good, excellent meaning when it is innovative education. Might be in some cases, but it does not define good education. So keep that in mind. What is it? Innovation, rather, in my opinion, innovation is a solution of a problem. So you might meet a problem in your classroom or in your school, and you are trying to solve that problem. And then you are thinking about something new, and then you will implement that new idea in your own practice. Actually, this is the core of innovation. So doing something new when you have a problem. However, that can also be another driver of innovation. So that need not to be a problem. Might be there is an idea in your mind that is not connected to a problem, but what is about an ideal. You have something in mind and you think, oh yes, that would be perfect to have this kind of education, and I'm implementing something new to have for that situation. So to summarize, innovation is about or solving a problem or getting to an ideal. And then we have to define what are the drivers for innovation. And then I have two distinctions. The first distinction is already mentioned. That's about the driver of a problem. The problem drives you to innovate, or the driver of an ideal. The ideal drives you to implement a new kind of education. And the second distinction is about internal drivers and external drivers. And I will firstly speak about the internal drivers and the external drivers, and then I will come to the examples, and I think you have been waiting for the examples. So let's look at the internal drivers, and I have taken in this slide a matrix of Fullen. Michael Fullen is a well-known innovation researcher in Northern America, and he has brought together a lot of findings about research in innovation. And this very simple slide helps us to get a good idea about wrong drivers and right drivers. But before speaking about that, I will mention a few examples. So let me start with drivers from problems. Imagine there is in your class a lack of motivation. Then you think there has to be motivation in my classroom, so I have to work on motivation, so I have to implement something new in order to have the students in my class more motivated. Another example, students in your class are badly doing their homework, and then you are thinking about how can I improve their homework? What action can I take to improve the quality of their homework? And then about quite another example, team culture. You notice in your school that team culture is not satisfying, and everyone is complaining about how everyone behaves to each other. And then you think, that's not good. We have to do something about this. Another example, parents complain about the bad supervision in the playground. And then you think, that's not good. We have to do something about this issue. And to conclude, the board of the school is not content with the type of hymns that are sung in the school. And it is said to you, you should change the way the hymns are used in the classrooms. So these are examples of problems you meet in a certain situation and that drives you to innovate. Then the other type of drivers is the drivers that comes from an ideal. And I mentioned just a few. Imagine you want to make your school a singing community. You think, yes, I would like to have every classroom singing every day and every part of the day, so that we are a very happy community and the glory of God sounds every day in the school. So that's a kind of an ideal that you are heading for. Another example is someone thinks, yes, I would like to make my pupils good debaters, because in the future they have to meet other people from other backgrounds and they have to discuss with them. So I have to prepare them to be good debaters. That could be an ideal. It's not coming from a problem, but it's coming from an ideal. And to mention the last one, imagine you want to make the church more involved in school affairs. It's your ideal that church and school should be more connected than at the moment it is done. And here in this example you can see that there is a kind of an overlap, because you could this ideal also formulate as a problem. because you think a school and church should be very tightly connected, and in my opinion it's a problem. But in this case, maybe you are the only one who was seeing and noticing about this problem. And in the other case, when problems are a driver, there is an urgency seen also by others. So these examples start with very concrete things. And then you could say, yes, but these are examples that are not about the why, but about the what, and maybe about the how. For example, the example of being a singing community, then you could imagine that you change something in the classrooms with using hymns, but that's about the what. But why should you have your school as a singing community? Why is this important? And then you could answer this question with the why. Maybe you think that's because the glory of God has to be visible in our school. So when you are thinking about a particular innovation in your school, you have to go back also to the why. So be aware of that and take this with you when you are formulating your innovation proposal when you come to the on-campus seminar in November. Michael Fullen has written important things about innovation, and it is very nice to see what he says about drivers. And he distinguishes between, in this slide, between right drivers and wrong drivers. And that is very interesting for us, because when we are discerning what we are going to innovate, we have to choose the right drivers, shouldn't we? And Michael Fullen found out that a wrong driver is that you are heading for accountability. So, and accountability means that you are doing your best for the inspection, or doing your best for the school board, or doing your best for the headmaster. And then Michael Fullen says, no, that's not the right driver. You should head for capacity building. And the next one is, a wrong driver is that you are improving an individual teacher. No, Michael Fullen says you have to do collaborative work. That's actually the reason why in our vision in this course we start with innovation in the class, and the next step is that we innovate for the whole school. So you have to innovate with your colleagues, and right from the beginning you have to be supported by your colleagues. The third thing is about technology. Like I said already, technology as such is not a good driver, but pedagogy has to be the driver. You have to improve your style of teaching, the way of doing things. And that's also the background of the practices approach we will speak about later on in the on-campus seminar. And the last thing is about fragmentation. Michael Fullen in his research found out that when you are innovating and you do it in a very fragmented way, you will not be successful. So you have to aim for innovating a system and not just a part of the system. So this is about drivers of innovation, and now I have actually given just examples of internal drivers. So what you observe in your own school, and I call this internal drivers because this is from the core, like you may remember from the previous sessions, that we distinguish a core of the school practice in which the teacher, the content, and the students are connected, and they are interwoven. It cannot be separated. So the internal drivers are about that core of the CEWB WW model. Now I come to external drivers. What are external drivers? When we look at the CEWW model, we can discern developments in each of the edges. And when I'm speaking about that, I am also speaking about powers surrounding us. And I will mention 4. There are more developments, but I just mentioned 4 examples. The first one is in the socio-economic edge, and that's the development of performativity. And that means that worldwide there is a tendency to aim for efficiency in education and effective education. The second example is in the religious edge, and this is about the worldwide movement of secularization. In the southern half of the globe, we still have religious awareness, but in the northern part of the globe, there is a decline of awareness of God. So we have to reckon with that when we are working in a situation in the Western world. The third one is about the impact of technology. This is a historical cultural development, and I will speak in a minute about that. And the fourth is about the increasing of state control. We can observe that in Asia mainly, and I think also in Europe, but it is also seen in some African countries. States are inclined to have more control in the schools, and that means that the freedom of shaping education is decreasing. So these are a few examples, and you can have different responses to that, and it's important that I speak a lot more about that. You can have a response of denial and rejection. So you say, let's remain far away from these developments. And you can have a bit more accepting inclination, and that means that you say, no, let's say, maybe it is profitable to go into these developments. But it's important to say that these positions are in itself difficult, because these powers surrounding us are powers that are also coming into ourselves. So our imaginaries, how we look into the world, is influenced by these tendencies. For example, we cannot imagine the world without having windows or computers or screens or keyboards. It's in our mind that these things exist. So we cannot say it is something from the outside. The images of that are also in our minds, and that's important to have in our mind. Another important thing is that when we are critical about these developments, and we have to be critical, we have also to be critical on our own position. So when I would frame this within the language of Korthagen, you are reading about Korthagen in the other strand, then you could say you have to be critical on the beliefs that are in the surrounding society, but you have also to be critical on your own beliefs. How are we influenced by the powers surrounding us? They are not only before the gates of Jerusalem, you could say, but they are in a way also within the gates of Jerusalem. So you have to be critical, and I think that's your task when you are becoming a teacher leader, that you have to be a critical, to develop a critical attitude to the outside, but also to the inside. Let's give me an example, and that's in the next slide. It is about the influence of society that occurs worldwide. And I feel the impact of society as an army before the gates of Jerusalem. Why is that? Because great companies like Google and Microsoft are getting the authority of the content. So what will happen with our kids when they are working with iPads, computers? They will be influenced by what is thought out by that powers. And I feel also the risk that our kids will become a kind of robots. So it is reducing humanity, you could say. And I also feel the risk of the loss of relationships and the sense of community. And you can notice, if you have watched the YouTube films I suggested in the assignment for the preparation, that people say it's a matter of time. It will come. Or they say lecturing will not be important anymore in the future. So it's enough to have computers. So these things are getting me, making me afraid, and I experience that as a kind of an army before the gates of Jerusalem. But, like I said, you have to be critical on the beliefs behind technology, and also beliefs in society, that people say it's a matter of time, or they say we need not no teachers anymore. You have to be critical about that ideas, but you have to be critical on your own beliefs as well. And I have to, I can exemplify this by what I found out, and it changed a bit my mind, because I found out that personalized learning with help of computers can also minimize stigmatization in classrooms. So children with special needs work with their own program, but they will not be blamed anymore, because everyone is working with a laptop on his own level. And another example is about visual handicapped people, and I found out that they profit a lot of the technology in education. So I will not work out this in extent, but what I want to say is this, that you have to be critical to the outside, to the external forces coming to us, but you have also to be critical on your own position. Now I will return to the what and the how. For we have seen that the why of the development is very, very important, and the why you are choosing a renewal and innovation is important. So you have to think and to underpin your what with the why. And I will bring back the examples I have mentioned already to the model, and it is important to notice that the what question is answered mostly in the first layer, and I mean with that the triangle, the student, the teacher, and the content. And sometimes also in the second layer, for example, when you are working with parents, or with the school board, or with the community around the school. And the how question is very, very different you cannot speak in general about how the how question is answered, because that's dependent on the type of topic you have chosen. I will mention two examples. The first is the example of the bad homework. You could say that's the what. I will be working on bad homework, and I do this because the why question is when people can do good homework, they will have a good work attitude in the future. That's a Christian value. But the how question can be answered that you, for example, let the children make the assignments themselves, so the assignments for the homework, to feel the responsibility and also to feel the importance of doing homework. So that could be kind of an experiment. And the other example is about the singing community. You could say the why question is answered with saying when we would be a singing community, the glory of God would be more noticeable within the classrooms and within the school. The what question is, I will be working on more singing in classrooms, and the how is, for example, that you do an experiment in your own class or in more classes with singing between every lesson a song. So that's an example, or two examples, about applying the model of why, how and what to our educational context. And now I come to a conclusion of this part of the video. And on this slide you find a kind of a definition of what innovation is from a Christian perspective. In my view, you could say that innovation is improvement of education that is led by understanding of what is needed in the current educational context. So you are speaking about urgency. You are carefully finding out actors and factors, so the what and the how. And you are systematically working together with all participants toward a Christian ideal of education. And that can be summarized in the three keywords I started with in the first video: justice, kindness and humble walking with God. So let's leave it for this part of the video. If you might have questions, please let me know.